You guys are gross.
And welcome back, everybody, to a DreamHack Winter 2013, where we are kicking off with the conclusion of the DreamHack Tour this year, which has been excellent, from Stockholm to DreamHack Summer to Valencia in Spain to Bucharest in Romania, and now we're here for the final of it all.
And it's already been an explosive start to the match. We just saw a fantastic series between Life and Polt. Life looking in prime condition to make a deep run in this tournament so far, Apollo.
That's right, he looked excellent against Polt, but now it's time for our second series here on the main stream, which is MMA, who of course has had such an excellent uprising of a year, getting back to where he used to be when it comes to performances, but unfortunately, in this tournament, he's lost his first game against JYP. So now he goes into this next one against StarDust. And StarDust, of course, the DreamHack Summer champion of this year, who's had excellent runs so far in the tour of DreamHack in 2013, makes his debut at DreamHack Winter. Has not yet played, and this will be his first game.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good series between the two of these players. It's kind of funny. I was actually spoken to MMA before. I actually ran into him at the airport on the way here, and he said he was feeling a little bit nervous about his group. But I feel like he's definitely a player that can take this back. He's one of those guys that we know for the multitasking, the dropping in the mid game. StarDust, I mean, he can be a bit aggressive in the early stages of the game, so it's kind of an interesting balance between the way these two guys like to play.
Yeah, a little bit is a bit of an understatement, I think, for StarDust. His Twitter ID's cheese dust for a reason, right? And I think we're going to be seeing some aggression come out from him. But MMA and Innovation, they both know exactly how StarDust plays. They've been practicing, they've been talking together, and now it's time for MMA. And he has to step it up now. Going down 0-2 in the first two games, you're gonna be in trouble for the rest of the group. This is DreamHack Winter. This is 19 of the world's best players. You need to be picking up games here.
Even just the mental stress that it can give you if MMA makes it out. If you barely make it out, first of all, you don't have that extra life of making it into the winner bracket. And then second of all, you have the mental weight of, well, I did lose a couple series. If I have to play this guy again in the loser's bracket, if he drops down, then how am I supposed to make recovery from there? But we're getting into the lobby for the first match, and we're going to start this series off on Yansu. I think a pretty solid map for the aforementioned aggression that we could see out of StarDust against the Terran player.
Absolutely. That's something which MMA will have to look for here, because we saw Innovation, who's lost to similar players with the same play style because he wasn't looking for these. At BlizzCon's a prime example. MMA has to do the same. He's had trouble versus Protoss in the past, but now it's where it all matters here with all players on stage. You can see Group A and Group B. Well, this is where it is all happening this weekend. 3 days of awesome action. We're going to be finishing up with all four groups today. We're moving into the playoffs tomorrow, which is a double elimination bracket. Top two in each group move into the winners bracket. Bottom two move into the losers bracket. And last place is out, unfortunately. But it's now time to kick off this next series, and I'm quite excited for this one.
Yeah, this should be a good one. Welcome to Yansu, ladies and gentlemen. Spawning in the bottom left position here as the red Terran player from Team MMA. It is, from Team Acer, it is MMA. Made a great run in DreamHack Bucharest, but now he has to play against the champion of DreamHack Summer, and the top right position as the blue Protoss player from Team My Insanity. It is StarDust.
StarDust.
It's on a pretty good map for the aggressive play style that we mentioned, Apollo.
Yep, this is. I'm pretty sure that's something that we have to look out for when we talk about StarDust, whether it be Proxy Oracle, is it Blink play, is it some random DT build? Lots of options here for him to choose from, but what one is it going to be? You know, well, look at that. A 10 gateway, that's what it's going to be. So we all know what this means. This is going to be quite a bit of aggression. This map sees a lot of Reaper openings from Terran players.
Yeah, I mean, one of the features of Yansu is that you have that little cliff space that a Reaper can jump up. It makes getting mid-game scouting information very easy. It's a lot easier for a Terran player to scout if you're going for something like Proxy Oracle. So why not do a build that hits before that? The 10 supply gateway will allow him to get a very fast Zealot Mothership Core Stalker attack, which, in all honesty, when you open up with a Reaper, if that Reaper is caught out on the field by the Stalker and the Mothership Core, or if it's just not in position, a second Stalker that comes out can defend against that, and then suddenly you have to deal with 3 units and very little anti-air, since most Terran players get a reactor very quickly after that Reaper.
That's right. So let's find out how well this is actually going to work out here for StarDust. And that's what we have to wait for the next couple of moments. I mean, let's talk about MMA, though. He's obviously facing this aggressive play. What are some of the things that you think that he needs to defend against it? First of all, he's got to spot it, which is what this SCV, I suppose, is going out to do. But then how does he react against it in the most correct manner, you think?
Well, one of the things is you need to scout this about as fast as possible. There's some ways that if you keep the SCV in the Protoss player's base, you can kind of draw their attention around. Getting that read as soon as possible is important because the reactor's halfway done. The Reaper's, he actually went straight for the reactor instead of the Reaper, which I think actually might help him in this instance with this SCV going out for the scout. A bunker on the high ground can work very well. The Mothership Core can draw the Marines back away from that bunker, and that's just kind of where the difficulty lies. If the Zealot and the Stalker run past a bunker that just doesn't have enough Marines in it. But he's come in, he's got the full read on this, he saw the Zealot leave, now he sees the Stalker being chrono boosted and the Mothership Core. I mean, the SCV's not going to do any damage in this situation. An Engineering Bay block won't do anything against an opponent that's not going for the fast expand. So here's the bunker on the way from MMA. He's using this very fast reactor barracks to get out Marines, and this is kind of a very interesting way of going about it. He even has a factory on the way behind this.
Yeah, and as well as he micros against these Zealots, he should be all good. Just needs to run around the rosy, wait for that bunker, splits off with the Marines. Excellent micro here from MMA. But the Zealot decides to turn around and target the SCV, pulls it off. Nice move there, and the bunker will complete. Excellent reactions there from MMA.
It's very important that this bunker finishes for MMA, and the cool thing is the positioning of it on the ramp means that the units, they have to go a pretty far distance, they have to look all the way past it to be able to get inside the main. It's not an easy way to just mess with it, but the Mothership Core, like I said, is going to come in towards the left side, basically wants to bait out the Marines, and then can time warp them, allowing the Stalker and the Zealot to just run past an empty bunker. And actually using the time warp on the SCV is an interesting choice as he steps back. He's not going to get any kills with it, and 3 Marines are enough to shove this back. StarDust, he's not going to get anything done with this.
No, he doesn't get anything done. He slows down the production a little bit here. But I think one of the biggest things to look at now is that we have the starport and Widow Mines on the way. He hasn't rushed out a command center straight away. He's decided to go for just a very simple counterattack. He's going to be able to build a medivac straight away with his starport. He's going to have Widow Mines. There's no detection yet. Obviously, the robotics facility is going to be a very crucial part of this. And that has to come down second. If anything else comes down second, this could be very ugly here for StarDust, but we are going to see MMA move across the other side of the map shortly, and he could deal out the damage, even though it was StarDust who was looking for it initially.
Yeah, I mean, the robotics facility is on the way. He had to take that second gas a little bit later. Now going to add on some additional gateways. But there's a big opportunity, like you stated, for MMA to do some serious damage. Even if he keeps the mine with his forces, he doesn't have to try to drop it onto the probes to deal damage. And I really like that he squeezed this Reaper out. He found a way to put the Reaper into his build no matter what, so that he can make it over to StarDust base. So many times as a Terran player, when you hold off the first level of aggression from Protoss, you're not 100% sure what they're doing. And a scan won't see everything if they put their tech in maybe the left half of his main. Yansu has a very large main base area. So I think MMA comes in, sees the Nexus, and sees the robotics facility and says, okay, I can feel safe pressing out. He's not going to go for anything like a super fast Blink Stalker build as that Twilight Council does begin. And he might even be able to spot that.
Yeah, the Reaper's going to be able to move around here. Is it going to spot it? Is it going to go around the right-hand side? Yes, it is. He spots the Twilight Council. An excellent pickup there. Great information from MMA. Even should be able to get out with that Reaper. Oh, no, just one last hit picks it off. But now, really StarDust needs to be thinking, my opponent's on one base. He's not just going to be sitting there doing nothing. There has to be something coming my way. Realizing that the factory and starport is a major follow-up from a lot of this. But is he ready? There's probes being transferred. Stalkers are still on the other side of the map here.
I mean, he could pick off a couple of these probes, I think, at least with the Marines, but the question here now is the Mothership Core does make its way over. He should be able to use Photon Overcharge and at the very least hold it off. He does get a few probe kills. Very nice. He's at 29 SCVs, 29 probes, gets away with the medevac. And I like that he didn't bring the mine with him. He kind of assumed that could be an issue. Left it at home for defensive purposes. There's still a Zealot here to see when the natural expansion gets taken by the Terran player. I'm mostly curious to see what happens with this Twilight Council. And it looks like, Apollo, it's a Dark Shrine.
Yep, Dark Shrine has been placed down. Though, remember that should be the back of the mind of MMA. I mean, he's seen the Twilight Council. He knows that either it's going to be some off blink play, the Dark Templar can of course come into play, or it could be just going up to High Templars nice and early. That's definitely the thought process of MMA. He's going to be guessing it's down that way. He's not going to really be expecting Colossus play after seeing the Twilight Council down early. Whether he scans inside the main base to have a look what's going on, that'll be something we'll have to look at very shortly. But we'll see how successful those DTs, when they come out to play, are going to be. There's the scan as expected, and he sees it. And, well, that's not really going to be able to do too much in this game.
It's kind of interesting just looking at the army composition that StarDust has. He's got a sentryless composition, pretty much relying on the Stalkers to either hold off drops or the Photon Overcharge to prevent any forward attacks. So I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see where he goes towards the later stages. He's adding on the Templar Archives and a Forge. So I guess it could be Charge Lot Archive of some kind. The Observer, he sees everything that MMA has. He knows where the army's located, and he sees this push out coming from the Terran player.
The problem is there's been so many different ideas that have gone to something else that StarDust just isn't where he needs to be at the good time. He's slow. There's been a lot of things that have pushed him back here with the probe kills as well on top of that. So with this movement out here, this could be difficult to hold on to. He's only got a handful of Stalkers. If he's able to get inside the main base, boost and drop down inside there with Stim, with +1 attack, with combat shields, that could be dangerous. It really depends on the army positioning here. Is there still a Photon Overcharge available on that Mothership core? It's already used energy inside the main base of MMA. It's already used a Photon Overcharge on the natural. There goes another one. The Immortal's going to get picked off if it's not careful there. Does run back under the Guardian Shield. And this is a dangerous position for StarDust.
He's cranking out those Immortals, just trying to get as many units onto the map as possible. And I like the armor positioning from the Protoss player. I think easily one of the biggest weaknesses of Protoss versus Terran on this map is that there's so much space in your main that Photon Overcharge does not cover the range. He could kill this robotics facility if he can get on top of this ramp area. And now with Storm coming in, it's just a matter of holding out for StarDust. But even then, he doesn't have the Templar in the field yet, banking that energy to get ready to bring those Storms out.
So far, StarDust has been in position the majority of the time here, and is defending, is holding on. He might be able to get a feedback off there, and he does. Great pick off there. Well, not really pick off, but lowering the health and also the energy of those medivacs. But still, the ride is not over yet, as MMA continues to waypoint out units. He's got a lot of production coming down. He's got his third command center on the way. But as Storm does complete, StarDust does start to safen up on 2 bases, but he does need to look towards getting another one soon. Well, he has a lot. Oh my gosh, that is a lot of gateways.
Yeah, he's moved up to quite a few gateways, Apollo. And this could be, he could try to go for the counter swing once Storm completes, maybe even rush for a +2 attack. Of course, he could just be trying to keep the production on the table, as that +2 is just far enough away that he might want to look at getting the third. He does have a probe there putting some pylons.
And with a second Forge as well, he's definitely going to be looking to play this out. But I think he realizes that he's not going to be able to take a fast third in this game, or at least a third now, because he realized the amount of pressure he's going to be under, and he doesn't have a high unit count. So he's saying, you know what, instead of just letting my minerals climb up, let's just throw down some gateways. Even though it is a high amount for 2 bases, it's going to keep my money low, and I will take that third soon.
You know, the spotting Marine from MMA will get picked off. There's a Warp Prism in production, so StarDust could still try to get back on the aggressive side a little bit, go for a bit of Storm drops, could even bring in Charge Lot drop. He has the +2 armor and the +1 attack coming in. I think what's really nice for MMA is his 2-2 can start very close to when this 2-2 has started for StarDust. He can get his +2 attack much faster, and as long as you can keep that attack upgrade for the Terran, even with a Protoss, it is so much easier to take trades against heavy Zealot-based compositions like what StarDust seems to be aiming at.
MMA's pulling a big move now. He realizes his opponent will want to take a third soon, so he's got units on the left, he's got double drops on the right hand side. Oh, one of the High Templar actually goes into the Warp Prism here, so there's only one available. He's going to move his medivacs down, and he will be able to, well, no, okay, they're Marauders, so no, he will not be able to get that Warp Prism. But great threats here from MMA. It's slowing down the third, it's slowing down the tech switch, but he's got to be careful not to get caught out of position here.
He's got to be careful. There's not enough units, there's not enough medivacs to actually get all these units out, and he needs to be very careful any of them don't get picked off. He could get trapped. Some of them will be left behind. Poor soldiers as he evacuates the left side. He's dropped inside of the main base, though. 2 Templar are prepared with some Zealots to try to stave this off. Charge doesn't just hit, but the Storms really doing a lot of damage, and he can't trade too much more versus these Zealots. He does have that ability to kite, though, since Charge is only about 1/3 the way done.
And the longer StarDust stays away from a third base, the better it is for MMA when it comes to a longer game now. But as we can see, is StarDust going to be able to get that down? He's trying again, but MMA's already there. With a quick stim, he could cancel that quite easily, and MMA pushes the opponent back to 2 bases. And even without a cancel there, that is 400 minerals down the drain. Ghost Academy is on its way, 2-2's on its way. If MMA can keep up the pressure, keep dropping while getting up to Ghost and getting ready for this army that StarDust has, he could walk with quite an easy victory.
Yeah, the only thing that MMA needs to do in this game is not overextend himself. That's where the Storm can become very cost effective. That's where these Zealot counts can really start to snowball and just overwhelm a Terran player. But we even see that the third Nexus, he's trying to get it down again. He's managed to secure the third base, MMA, But the +2, like you said, is coming in very soon. Charge is going to be done in just a few moments' time. There's no medevacs on the left side.
Yeah.
There's a couple parked there, but with very low health. And that Warp Prism is actually right on top of the medevacs, interestingly enough. Picks off a few stalkers, trying to kill the medevacs so that he can't escape, and he does grab one of them. These units left behind for MMA.
Yeah, tries to save one Marauder, but not going to happen there. But nice warp. Well, I don't even know how Pylon got there and is still alive there. So nice warp in here from StarDust. Does get into the mineral line, but there are units there to come and defend, so not too much damage will be dealt. But we do have a Warp Prism inside the main base, and also the main army, or no, a little bit of the army. I think some of it's trailing behind on the right-hand side here. So StarDust is flicking the switch of aggression himself here, but will he be successful with it?
That's the question. Zealot's being warped, and he has the Templar available. No, not really too many storms being dropped. Does get the feedback on the medevacs, and he's just forcing everything for MMA to be brought back while the Immortals and Zealots press the third. This is a really nice multi-pronged attack from StarDust to just kind of try to even things out here.
He's got to be careful not to lose with all the units coming back from MMA. He could lose it. He scans ahead of time, sees if there's any more units there. And these are trapped. If he dodges the couple of storms that these High Templars have, every unit shall die.
Yeah, it seems that StarDust has overextended himself. There's so many Marauders, even the Storm's not able to pick those off quite as quickly. There's so many hit points in this army for MMA, blasting him back. No Mothership Core for a recall, and these Immortals getting tagged by the Concussive Shell being taken down, but still splintering off a few Zealots to harass the economy of MMA as much as possible.
Yeah, that was a big risky play there from StarDust. Even though it looked nice, he was being very aggressive, he was getting some damage done for the first time himself. That was at the cost of a lot of units, and if we look at the supply difference, 50 between the two players, I think we're going to see MMA collect all his forces together. He has a much larger army, and he's going to move across the other side soon, and I think that may be a very difficult thing for StarDust to deal with. He's no money for a tech switch. He's still just on a couple of High Templar.
And StarDust has basically just started mining that third base, finally getting the economy set up. A couple medevacs are going to be split off. Thankfully, the Observer can spot that, but 4 Ghosts are in the production tab. The 3-3 is going to be done in just a couple minutes' time for MMA. He hasn't really trailed behind in the upgrades too much. He's going to be just versus that +3 armor for a little bit of time. Comes out with the Templar, gets a Storm, not really doing too much damage. There's a lot of medevacs with a lot of energy to heal this Terran army.
Scan going on to the army, seeing 3 High Templar. That is a little bit difficult to engage into, but I think the big threat is this 3 drops here. There's no High Templar, there's nothing. They're going to get a lot of damage dealt there. StarDust realizes that his third's under pressure. He sees put all of his army to defend that third. The forges have been found. I guess that, I'm not sure what the upgrades are at the moment, but it looks like that +3 is going to get cancelled.
No, he does.
No,
he finishes. He finishes the +3. He's chasing the army back outside of the third base, so StarDust buying himself a little bit more time, but as you said, he's still down heavily in supply, 175 to 126. Photon Overcharge is trying, but it is not enough versus this many units. Now going after the pylons, could try to focus this Nexus. He's even split off a medevac towards the natural expansion as well, preventing the mining there, and the main base Nexus is going to be destroyed.
It's going to be destroyed here, and there's a drop heading off to the third. MMA looks like he has this game under wraps so far with 3-3 near completion. Ghosts on the way, Cloak for his Ghost, +2 attack coming in as well for his Vikings if necessary, if there was somehow Colossus in this game. But MMA's played a pretty good game so far from the get-go through the mid-stages, keeping the level of aggression that we love to see from MMA. His high-speed playing, his multiple drops, multiple medevac plays. And he has got a big lead in this game, but can he just finish the game off? That's the big question now.
Well, he's got his 4th base together. He's queuing up a sensor tower. We have StarDust trying to get something set up on the right side of the map. No luck there, replacing his forge. And I mean, MMA's 3-3 is completing as we speak. He's getting even his +2 mech weapons just in case he needs to build Vikings. It's been an unnecessary upgrade. There hasn't been a single Colossus in this game, and the drop harass is just going to keep coming. Where does StarDust invest his resources? He's trying to bring Zealots in to defend, but this is not enough. And by the time this army of StarDust gets back here, he can just lift up and he can just leave.
Yeah, he can just leave, and MMA controlling this game, a massive supply difference between the two of them now. MMA almost pretty much is maxed out now compared to just 119 here for StarDust. And MMA has a strong force on this left-hand side, looking to finish the game, looking to finish map number 1. Still has 3 medevacs threatening on the left-hand side. Ghost at the front here, looking for a couple of snipes, looking for a couple of EMPs. And there's one already picked off.
Here comes the flank from StarDust. He's going to try to hit him from the back. EMPs are dropping on these Archons. Hits the Templar on the right side. There's still some Storms available, but Snipes, with no Observer to spot them, picks off all of the Templar. There's no Storms for this fight. EMPs, even the Immortals, the Marauders, blast through that. And GG. MMA takes game number 1 here in this best of 3 against StarDust.
Good game from MMA. And he does keep his tournament life alive. Of course, going down 0-2 in series already so fast would be quite dangerous, but this is a good start to revitalize what he needs here. Taking map number 1 against StarDust, having lost the first series of the day against JYP. A good direction for the Acer Terran player. StarDust not off to the best of best starts here, but still to play for with potential 2 maps remaining in this best of 3 if he's able to take them both.
Yeah, I really like the way that MMA opened up on that game. I just want to mention again, so often you see the Reaper into the Reactor. A few Terran players, maybe a couple months ago, I know Flash would go for the Reactor first into a Reaper and a Marine to scout and get that defense out in case the attack were coming. But it really fell off a lot, and I think it was a smart choice from MMA just to have the access to such fast Marine production if he needed it. So just kind of reading his opponent in a very nice manner. The next map is going to be Whirlwind, though. A little bit harder to be aggressive, I think, for the Protoss player.
That's right, but I guess it also depends on what MMA decides to do. This is a map where we do see favored command center first, a favored map towards grabbing a fast second base. So I guess there is slight, a bit of an option for him to do it, a slight chance for him to pull this off, but we'll see. StarDust does have a better win record when he is playing as the aggressive Protoss player. And the game, and the longer it goes on, even though some Protoss players do find it easier to win, StarDust manages to win earlier. But there is MMA, a 25-year-old from Korea having a massive year in 2013, really, changing up what was his last year, where he did struggle in StarCraft. But 2013 has been a very kind year to him, picking up a trophy in the WCS Europe Premier League, where this guy's picked up a DreamHack win himself, DreamHack Summer, with a slow transition into the WCS system, having moved from region to region. Not best of results, but still a big name. That's made a big name of himself this year. Yeah,
that whole My Insanity team really just picking up over this year. But I think it's kind of funny because I think back to DreamHack Summer. I remember Show's game versus StarDust on Whirlwind. I'm pretty sure we saw that very fast aggression anyway. If I recall, it was a proxy Oracle play anyway. So StarDust could really do anything. That's just the way he plays.
That's the dangerous thing about him, indeed.
Yeah, but we are here, ladies and gentlemen, on Whirlwind, spawning in the bottom right position as the red Terran player. From Team Acer, he's up 1-0 in this series. It is MMA. Rather smartly chosen build in game number 1 against this player in the bottom left position. The blue Protoss from Team My Insanity, it is StarDust.
Yeah, My Insanity, great pickup, StarDust. And of course, Jack G in that team as well. 2 awesome players that really stand out above the rest. But also Team Acer, one of the best teams out there now. Really, Team Acer, really strong performing team, the likes of Scarlet, Nurtio, MMA, as we see here, Innovation playing in that team. A very dominant team in the European scene, and if not globally.
Yeah, and I think even in My Insanity just picked up Kane as well, so expanding that roster. Both of these teams have actually had pretty solid years as far as both results and just overall play goes. The team's looking very good, but you did mention something before this game started. This map kind of lends itself towards that fast expansion for Terran players. MMA's got his SCV screwed up. It looks like he's going to be going for a command center first, Apollo.
And it is a predictable build. So what does StarDust do now himself? Is he going to throw down double gases immediately? Which, if he does, then I think that could be an indication to where he wants to go. But 1 gas has been thrown down. The probe is moving out to scout now. It's only a single gas so far, so with 1 gas, it is, of course, a lot less less likely we'll see aggression from him.
And the interesting thing about the command center first versus Protoss on big maps is if StarDust want to do that aggression, I feel like his probe has to find MMA very quickly.
Yeah.
The command center is being built on the low ground, but the follow-up to the command center first, naturally the 2 barracks, actually gives more production than some other Terran builds normally would if you would go for something like a 1 barracks fast expand or even the Reaper expand. You can get out Marines very quickly for the mid-game setup toward a little bit closer towards that 9-minute mark if StarDust were to do any type of 2 base aggression.
Yeah, well, 1 base aggression doesn't seem to be on the cards here for StarDust. Just on a single gas, doesn't have enough gas to be able to invest in something along those lines. He could always chrono boost into the gateway, but a lot less likely to happen as he has no idea where his opponent is. And of course, we should just be seeing an expansion come down from StarDust. So the next stage of where is StarDust aggression going to come from could very well be off 2 bases. Is it some form of Zealot charge, a High Templar play? Is it a Colossus all in? Because these are the tendencies that we do see a lot from StarDust. Or is he just going to play it out long?
That's the question. I think one of the other things you have to consider is MMA went for a lot of drop-heavy play on the last map. So if MMA continues with that trend, StarDust is this is a bit of an easier map to drop on. Let's be frank, Whirlwind, there's so much space going around the main as well as the third. So playing off of 2 bases is not something that's uncommon to any Protoss on this map. The Mothership Core is going to move out towards the east. He can try to scout with this. The probe sees this bunker, and he confirms that it was a command center first, so that orbital command's on the way. In MMA, he's just churning out Marines. No third barracks just yet. Typically, Terran players want to get that down very quickly. I'm wondering if he's got his eyes on either a third command center early on, or if he's just playing this really safe with how fast he got that bunker.
Well, by the looks of it, I think we are going to see a third command center. This is a build that, for example, Liquid Taser uses very, very often, pulls out 3 command centers, and it's very difficult in these positions as well for the Protoss player to pick up on it. The Mothership Core is going to come in, and is not going to get that SCV. His 3 Marines will drive it back, but with 3 command centers, MMA is going to rocket ahead with his economy. He's going to have double engineering bay. He's going to have X amount of barracks come 10, 11 minutes. He's going to be flying ahead of the mark. But nicely, I think we can say here, StarDust has elected for a greedy build himself. This is 1 gateway straight into Double Forge after the Nexus. No robotics facility. No extra gateways in case there was a movement out with Marines. He's just got a couple of Stalkers to protect himself, which is fine in this regard. But a nice opening from StarDust, considering he has no idea what MMA is doing. This plays very well against what MMA has.
Yeah, this is really, really nice for the Protoss. It's not so much even that he's got the Double Forge, but the potential builds he could do off of a 2-2 setup involving either charge, archons, or even if he just wants to play out the late game, he has that opportunity to deal damage. MMA somehow finds 5 Marines just slinking their way into the natural expansion. He's just going to kill a couple of probes. He's managed to just grab 4. If maybe even a Stalker goes up the ramp, he's actually going to see both forges. This is incredibly important. Now MMA, I mean, you go third command center, there's no way to punish this with aggression. MMA has to just go double engineering bay himself.
Yeah, absolutely, but that's really good information because I think that he can skip up on, adding on any extra production, throw double engineering bay straight down because he knows that there is no threat to his game. You could almost go as far as saying, well, when my third command center is done, let's pick it up, let's go mine from the third base because, again, there is no threat and he can actually mine faster from a third base than his opponent can. And I really think that was crucial information that MMA gathered that changes the flow of this game so far.
Yeah, and there we see the double engineering bay. So he's not going to be, the upgrades obviously won't be quite as fast. And he still needs to get the factory together. He can't invest too much before getting the factory if he wants to get a 2-2 timing as well. But the Twilight Council is coming in. And I'm kind of wondering now where StarDust takes this. Is it going to be just a heavy charge lot force relying on the upgrades to give them strength? Will there be any type of transition into the Colossi plays you'd mentioned earlier? Or is he going to just try to end this?
I think he may try to end it on a 2-2 timing. There's such a rapid rate of 1-1 that's almost done. The Twilight Council finish as well. Imagine if he attacked with 2-2. We've already described that these upgrades are going to be a lot faster here for StarDust than MMA will. And especially if MMA is going to move out to take a third base soon, which he should do as the saturation is getting ready and almost finished on that natural. This could be a strong attack. And with that, I don't think we'll see major tech. I think we could see the Templar Archives to come for Archons. I don't think we'll see Colossus along the lines. In a respect that he hasn't even got a robotics facility yet. He's got no observers, he's got no longevity in that regard. He could go for a massive play here when these 2-2 upgrades are done.
Yeah, and I really like this because, like you said, the upgrades are just so much faster. While MMA may go for a fast 1-1, it's very difficult to have a good army out when your +1 attack and +1 armor are done when you do these very greedy plays. So MMA scans, and he's going to see extra gateways being added on. He sees the double forge in the Twilight Council. No tech, though, still from StarDust.
Yeah, but he sees the chronoboost in the forges, and he's got to be like, oh, those upgrades, they've been there for a very long time, and with further chronoboost, they're going to keep on rising. There's the Templar Ives coming in now, too.
And the other thing is, because of the way that this build lines up for StarDust, he can hit this 2-2 timing before the double engineering base even pay off for MMA.
Yeah.
So I think this is probably one of the best counter plays he can make to the reaction that MMA had to the original scout.
And now we are going to see StarDust go and have a quick look. What's there? He stopped his pro production. He has no third nexus. He is going to go for this type of assault as described, and he's going to go ahead and see, Okay, great. Third command says down. That means he's going to be very spread out in the open if he wants to defend it. MMA needs to identify what's going on. The way to deal with these kind of attacks is multiple bunkers. He needs bunkers on the low ground. He needs bunkers on his third. He needs to identify exactly what's coming, because if he doesn't, this is an attack which could be very, very difficult to stop.
Yeah, I think bunkers is definitely the key word there. You need to go just an absurd number of bunkers really to hold this off. MMA, we even see, he's not even going to have as much mineral income as he could. He's getting the very fast gas because he needs to afford all these upgrades. He's getting his +1 vehicle weapons. He's getting his 2-2 now is underway, as the 2-2 is about 30 seconds from finishing for StarDust. But he decides to move up. He takes a third base, and I guess he's not feeling terribly confident going for the aggression. He's decided with his Phoenix Scout that he won't be able to make an attack work.
Yeah, well, he's decided to take this third base, and I'm a little bit surprised. I think that 2-2 attack could have worked well for him. But simply because he's thrown this out the window, from what it seems, or at least maybe he didn't have that idea in the first place, there's still the option to go straight for a 3-3 opportunity as well here, because likewise his upgrades are still much further ahead than his opponent.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, and there we see that +3 attack immediately begins, as well as the armor upgrades. The scan hits the natural. He sees that there's a Templar there, and this is kind of interesting because StarDust can still try to bring a little bit of pressure, but the timing is mostly lost. This Bioforce actually heading over towards the north base should be able to force the cancel on this third. There's nothing here to defend. 4 Zealots will be warped in, and I mean, they have the upgrade advantage, but MMA has so many more units, he can just pick up, and that's exactly what he does.
That's
third
a big
base
win.
canceled.
That's a nice cancel there by MMA, really slowing down his opponent. But still, those 3-3 upgrades are on the way here. The biggest part of this game is all around the upgrades. That's what this game is that we're watching, is how well are these upgrades going to pay off that StarDust invested in so early. But look at this, MMA's dragged his opponent rather far out here, and he's just moving into the natural.
A great swing. He snipes the Templar before Storm can hit, and he's just going to focus this Nexus. Zealots are being warped, and he's trying to save this as best he can, but that will fall. The Zealots giving the chase, but he doesn't have to engage this if he doesn't want to. With the numbers, it doesn't matter. He's just continuing to step back. Now the army is here to try to catch this. He's trying to get it looks like he wants to try to catch him with the force fields, and he will! Great surround with these Zealots. No Storm still, though. Snipes both High Templar, and this is just not going very well for StarDust.
What happened there? He's definitely got Storm upgraded. I'm not too sure. Did he feedback maybe with those High Templar? But whatever the case, he's missed some golden opportunities here. And MMA, through delaying the third, through killing the natural, is going to zoom ahead because his income's just simply much, much higher than his opponent. There's an opportunity here where StarDust can maybe move in, but with the amount of units that are already here, no, there isn't an opportunity. And I can't help but feel that StarDust has made a couple of mistakes here that have hurt his game a lot.
Yeah, the Templar coming in once again. He absolutely has to hit fantastic storms and maybe even feedback the medevacs on top of that to be able to churn this down. There's a ton of Zealots here to tank the damage, so it all comes down to the positioning. MMA hides behind his bunker. That leaves the third base exposed. Taking this out would be a nice start to bringing himself back, but he needs to watch Templar Storm on a couple of these bio units. One of them getting tagged, using the units in the bunker, tries to focus on another, but still no luck here. And StarDust is getting some reasonable trades against the economy of MMA finally.
Yeah, that was a good Storm, that last one there, but there's a lot more units here, and they are going to move forward. I don't think there's any Storm left. The Zealots, there's a lot of them. Oh, no, there is one, and that does come down on the ramp. Not dealing the most amount of damage it could have.
He's coming with the Templar on the left side. Not enough energy for the Storm yet, and that will get sniped after a feedback, but takes out a lot of the SCVs of MMA. But, you know, the amount of... Oh, these are the mules. He drops the mules to block the Stalkers from getting out. That's a very, very cute play from the Acer Terran player. It's one of those things you dream about. And he's going to catch these Head Templar as well, trying to get away. And there's the SOBM from StarDust. Army getting caught, dances the Zealots. Yeah. And that is going to be it. GG MMA takes game number 2. A decisive win here for the Acer Terran.
An excellent win there for Acer MMA. And now he's 1-1 in this tournament. Loss versus JYP, wins versus StarDust. 2 Protoss players as StarDust giggles a little bit about those 2 mules that locked in his Stalkers. But a good game there from MMA. I think a couple of missed opportunities there from StarDust, but nonetheless, MMA 1-1 within Group B. StarDust, his first game of DreamHack Winter, falls short to MMA, but still a long way left in Group B here for both players.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good series with both players. I think I have to echo your condolences about StarDust's play. He had a lot of opportunities that he could have taken, but it seemed at the last second he was always, well, I'll get 3-3 and take a third base. Or, you know, I'll pull back, don't commit as much. And then the Templar getting sniped, just sometimes that loss of control. And that could have maybe even just been his nervousness about those decisions earlier. I won't take the 2-2. Yeah. Maybe that kind of nervousness is what caused him to miss those storms, not get the proper engagements that he needed. In MMA, he's bounced back from that first loss he had in his group.
He has bounced back. And before we go over to the winners interview, just looking at some other results here. So JYP is currently leading one game versus Polt. JYP coming out from nowhere for a certain extent this year. Really not, being in the main circuit of WCS, being in the main circuit of tournaments, but he's starting off with almost 2 victories if he's able to beat Polt. That's a big start for him. Jumping over to Group A, just looking at some others, TLO did take down Lucifron 2-0. Good start for the German player. And then we had Patience, who originally won versus Naniwa 2-1, has beaten Hyun 2-0 as well. Patience, first place at the moment in Group A, starting out very strong. But it is time for the winners interview, so take it away, Smix.
Thank you, guys. I am here with the winner of our previous game. He won 2-0 against StarDust. Not a small feat at all. Congratulations, MMA. That was an amazing series. And the first thing I want to actually ask you is, previously to the game starting, I saw that you wrote in Korean that you weren't able to control your units properly. And I want to see what your thoughts were going into that series, feeling like you couldn't even micro properly. 이제 경기 시작하기 전에 그 한국말로 컨이 진짜 안 된다 이렇게 썼었는데 경기를 손이 안 풀린 상태에서 하는데 좀 자신감이 그래도 있었나요? 아니면 그래도 게임이 잘 풀린 것 같은데?
스타더스트 선수랑 할 때는 좀 잘 풀렸는데 JYP 선수랑 할 때는 막 의료선에 태웠는데 불곰이 안 타더라고요. 그래서 좀 많이 유리했던 경기를 져가지고 좀 많이 속상했는데 그래도 1승해서 다행이네요.
So he says, I'm really happy because against StarDust, the games actually played out really well. But the reason why I said that I wasn't able to control my units properly was in my previous game against JYP, there were definitely some games where I was ahead, but I ended up losing because I told my Marauders to get into the medevac, but then they wouldn't. So I actually lost games where I was ahead. And so that's why I stated that I didn't feel like my control was there. And then the second thing I want to ask is, in that second game, we saw that he went 3CC 1 Rex against StarDust, who is known for his, I want to say cheesy play, or I guess others can call it aggressive, timing play. And I want to see what his decision making was there. 이제 두 번째 경기에서는 그 손석희 선수랑 할 때 이제 그 3cc 렉스 하나만 했는데 손석희 선수 같은 경우에는 약간 좀 치즈도 좋아하고 뭐 이제 타이밍도 좋아하는 선수인데 그 전략 선택을 왜 하셨나요?
첫 세트에서 이미 그 압박적인 빌드를 했기 때문에 두 번째에서는 안 할 거라고 생각을 하고 좀 배를 많이 불렸어요.
So he says because he went for like an aggressive build in the first game when he went 10 gate, I thought he's definitely not going to do it in the second game, and I think I took advantage of that, and that's why I chose that build for that second set. And I want to ask MMA how he feels going into the rest of this tournament. Obviously there are top caliber players here. He's had some amazing runs and at this year 2013, but we haven't seen him kind of return to his former glory. So I want to see how he feels right now in his current state. 이제 남은 대회에 들어가면서 자신감이 어떠세요? 솔직히 전에는 뭐 2011년 뭐 그때는 문성호 선수가 진짜 최강의 선수였는데 이제 최근에도 이제 많이 돌아왔던 느낌이 났는데 지금 현재로 컨디션은 어떤 것 같고 자신감은 어떠세요?
컨디션은 괜찮은데 좀 선수랑 싸우는 게 아니라 좀 추위랑 싸우고 있는 것 같아요. 그래서 드림핵 윈터라는 이름을 정말 잘 지은 것 같아요.
So he says, in terms of my physical condition, I'm pretty good, but right now I feel like I'm not playing against players. I feel like I'm playing against the cold. So I think they did a really good job in naming this tournament DreamHack Winter. So guys, show him your support. It seems that he's a little bit cold, but hopefully he'll warm up throughout the rest of this tournament to show really great, amazing games. Guys, when we come back, we'll have Naniwa versus TLO. I know a lot of you are looking forward to that series, but before we get there, we're going to have a quick commercial break, so stay tuned.